I hit the wrong button. Hi, everybody. This is Zoph. You are watching Simply SCAdian, no title required. I'm going to do tech girl stuff and hand it off to Lucas. Take it away, Lucas.
Hey, everybody, welcome to Simply SCAdian, no title required. You know the mission statement of the show. You watch the show, you love the show. As always, we like to showcase people from throughout the known world. Doesn't matter the kingdom, we like to see them from everywhere. And our mission, as always, is to showcase those people that don't have their peerage yet, that haven't gotten a title yet. Maybe they're working towards it. Maybe it's just not important to them right now. But what they all share in common with all of us is that they are super knowledgeable in their area of expertise in the SCA, whether that be in fighting, in bardic arts, as we've learned in cooking, in storytelling, in research. If you watched the show a few weeks ago, and tonight certainly we're going to talk about a lot of that, but we're also going to talk a lot about theater, which is a subject near and dear to my heart and something I think is very important in the SCA. Don't get me started on that. I will debate anyone. So if you know somebody who we should talk to, somebody who has not gotten a title yet, we love those folks, but somebody who just hasn't achieved that level yet, who's super knowledgeable in whatever area it is they're passionate about in the SCA, let us know. Hit us up on the Facebook page, fill out the form, and let us know who we should talk to. Again, we want to talk to people from all areas. I mean, we get a lot of East Kingdom, we get a lot of Mid Realm because that's where we're from. But we want to throw it to all over the known world and just meet folks and learn things about them because it's just been so wonderful. Speaking of folks that we know, I'd like to welcome to the show tonight, and I'm so nervous about saying the name because again, anything Welsh, Irish, or Celtic, I just want to grab them. But the lady Maire ni Sheaghdha, all right, has been close enough. I butchered it a little bit, everybody. It's not all that close. Has been in the SCA for over about 24 years. Originally from the Shire of Rusted Woodlands, she now resides in the Shire of Hartshorn Dale. Both are in the East Kingdom. She started out as a heavy fighter, as I think a lot of us do, but eventually found fencing more to her liking. It wasn't until Penzig 41 that she became involved with the performing arts at Penzig, and over the years, she's become an integral part of the setup for the performing arts tent and is now technical director overseeing the setup and infrastructure of the space. She is in her mundane life a professional costume designer and maker, has been working in the theater industry for over 30 years. Currently, she works for Lehigh University as a first hand in their costume shop. So, Lady Maire, welcome to the show.
Hi, y'all. A little nervous being out in the spotlight.
Right.
I'm usually looking around in the dark in the back.
I work, in theater as well, and I love taking my techs in the back or my stage people and giving them stuff to do and bringing them out, and they all have the same reaction. They all have that like, it's lights. Yeah, exactly. Bright light. But you're gonna do fine. This is great. We love having you on, and we love working with you anyway because we've certainly both dealt with you. As far as Penzig is concerned,
dealt with her.
I'm sorry, I don't mean it like.
I know you don't.
You made it weird. You made it weird.
I always make it weird. I always make it weird. Have you not learned that? All right. So tell us how you found the SCA.
Well, I actually found it through an ex-boyfriend. I was dating a guy that I met at one of my summer theater jobs, and ended up moving down to live with him for a little bit, and he introduced me to the SCA. And he thought it'd be really fun if the two of us would be heavy fighters, because he was already a heavy fighter. And that was bad. It did not work out all that well. And then eventually, life happens, and I moved back up to the Northeast and found Rusted Woodlands and got involved there. And then, I was doing some of the heavy fighting, and I got to, meet a lot of the people there and get to know a lot of them. And one of the younger members, was about my age at the time, we became friends, and he would be at the practices at the park where they'd have the heavy fighting and the fencing. And so I was getting bored with the heavy fighting because I just felt like I wasn't being taken seriously because I was a girl. But at the same time, I also didn't really feel like I was fighting well as a heavy fighter. Like I just felt like I didn't have the strength, and it just wasn't vibing for me. And so I turned to my friend and my friend Malcolm. I said, "Hey Malcolm, show me something fencing like." And then I started doing all the fencing, and I started doing really, really well. I went down to there was a practice in Piscataway. I think it's is that Setmore? I think Setmore Swamp. And it was being run by Captain Ricardo from Ravenspittle, and I think Mercedes and a couple other people. And I got really involved with them and like really started enjoying it and having fun. And then I started going to Penzic and did some fencing there and found out it was too darn hot. And I was like, nope, not doing it. So yeah, and then I'm here now. So
Yay. And we're glad that you're here now.
yeah.
So, what did you enjoy heavy fighting when you started? Or were you just doing it to sort of make the dude happy?
I did kind of enjoy it. I tend to be a physical person. I like doing things. So in that respect, I enjoyed it. I guess what I didn't enjoy was the fact that I was not good. And I just couldn't seem to get past like that level where you can, you feel like you're actually starting to like be effective in your skill. And so I got bored with it, really. I couldn't defend, I couldn't really hit, so I got hit more than I hit others. So I was like, nope, I'm done. This isn't working.
I get it. Yeah, I didn't enjoy it either when I did it. But fencing is cool. So what is it about fencing that you enjoy?
It's quicker. I don't feel like I'm being I'm slogged in mud or something. So I feel like my movement is more fluid. And I think for me personally, that's what I like. And that's kind of, it's probably also because I used to do Irish dancing when I was a kid. So it's kind of like dancing. So that's probably why it worked out better for me. So,
Right.
yeah. But I had fun. I don't do it anymore. I got out of it mostly because of life. And then my body said, no, we're not doing this. You're too old.
Aw.
So then you transferred one passion to another. So
Yes.
you work very heavily and very well with the theater at Penzic. How did that transition come about? How did you kind of find that?
So I met my husband at Penzic, and we had and so after several years later, after we got married, he got involved in the Known World Players and did a production of End of a Thousand Days. And part of the agreement for performers with the Performing Arts Tent is that you put in some hours to help with either the setup or the running during the week or the teardown. And so since I was going to be there the full 2 weeks, I offered to put in some hours on behalf of No More Players, and mostly because I have the background. I know what I'm doing. I have a BFA and an MFA in theater, so I know it all. I don't touch most of it anymore, but so I was able to help them set up the tent, with the stage, getting that set up, doing setting up the curtains or whatever they needed. And with Wormwood being part of the No World Players, basically from then on, I just was like, okay, this is what I'm doing. I'm going to be I'm going to help with the theater setup. So as it went on, I became like half the brain of the dean of the performing arts, who is actually the person who's in charge of all of it, the scheduling and the setup and all that. So I became half her brain. I remembered how things were set, how things got unloaded, how things got loaded at the end during strike. So over the years, I think I'm now on the third dean of performing arts, and I'm still there. And it's only just recently that I was given the official title of technical director. So now it's all my problem.
So you do costuming though for a living,
Yes.
but you also, I mean, like you are the queen of the screwdriver and putting together the tech. It's they're two completely different skill sets, making costumes and doing the technical direction of a theater. What is your favorite part about being a TD?
I think the organizing the chaos. I thrive on chaos. And as soon as there's chaos, I have to fix it and organize it. And it just brings me joy. So it's just, I don't know, I like all the people there. Everybody's always been very helpful. Nobody's, really causes me any issues. Everybody works really well together. They're always happy to help out. They come in and be like, okay, what can we do today? And so, and it's been really nice. And I've met a lot of great people doing this. So people that, I don't usually see elsewhere, but because it's just at Penzic, but as soon as I see them the next year, hey, how you doing? Big hugs, all that. So it's a great theater community.
So responsibility wise, because I mean, again, there's something in that tent, in those tents, I should say, every night of war, but most of the nights of Peace Week too. Like, I mean, are you there for all of those things? I mean, just so that people out there get some kind of scope of like how often you're like in the tent working, or is it really just like the beginning and the end and then kind of checking in to make sure everything's all right? Do the other groups, I guess, bring their own kind of, stage manager, TD person that you can kind of hand it off to?
So I'm mostly involved in the beginning and the end. Basically getting the infrastructure up and then taken down and put away. But I do stay in touch with the dean in case there are other issues. So I'm usually wandering up there at some point. So we start putting everything together Monday of Peace Week, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday is doing all the little finishing touches. And then Thursday is usually the day for the paint to dry, because we try to put a fresh coat of paint on the stage before everything starts happening. So once that's done, I'm done, and I can now enjoy my vacation. But because I'm responsible for the tent and everything that's going on, I do make sure that everything's going well, especially if there's a rainstorm. I will go up and make sure everything's battened down. Everything's away from the edges, and we won't lose anything critical.
So what do you do then at Pensick after the theater is up and running? What are your hobbies when you don't have to worry about the theater?
Sitting on my ass.
No classes, nothing like that?
I will take classes occasionally. It just kind of depends on what I'm wanting to do. Usually I'm just kind of wandering around, checking things out. I don't know, I might try going to the archery range because I have a bow, but I don't really I haven't really picked it up in ages. So every once in a while I think I might try that. I'll go up and watch Wormwood play with the guns and the cannons, and just kind of wander around, enjoy myself, and then just hang out with my friends that I don't see the rest of the time. So
That sounds really wonderful. Can we have a Pensick like that once, Lucas, where we don't have any responsibilities except for the first 2 days and the last 2 days?
I don't know
What
what I
would
do.
that be
I don't know
like?
what I do with myself. I don't know.
I
We
am very
decide to
good at
put
being
on
a
a play
sloth.
last minute. Yeah, being a sloth. That's life goals. Life goals right there. So what do you do the rest of the year in the SCA? Do you go to other events?
I actually haven't been going to a lot of local events in many, many years, mostly because of life changes. My work schedule and financial picture have not been the greatest. So um, getting away for weekend events has not been all that high on my priority list.
Right.
And then, but recently, now that, I'm kind of trying to get back into it. This past summer, we had Crown Tourney, which my shire, Hartsendale, was hosting. And so we were able to go to that, and that was fun. And it was nice to see people and help them out. Wormwood ran like a fiend all over the list field, being a list runner. Everybody yelling at him to slow down because it was so hot, and he's like, "No, I'm good, I'm good." And there he goes, off he goes, right? And then I'm just standing there going, "Okay, where do you need me? Okay, I'll go there," So, and just kind of, I just looked for what needed to be done and just kind of tried to fill in. And then we went to the Kale Yule, and mostly to meet up with someone from the World Players. And I actually decided to enter an A&S competition.
What?
I was a little birdie on. We've been getting a couple questions on the Facebook page, and
Okay.
we kind of went past the fighting one. There's a fighting question I was going to try to circle back to, but somebody who might actually be very close to you told me to ask you about said A&S competition. So I'm glad you brought it up.
Let me guess, is that Wormwood?
Yes. So tell us about that. What did you compete in? What did you compete with?
So I actually made an applique pillow for the Laurel Challenge this past summer, and so I was like, well, let me enter that into the competition and see what happens. Maybe this is where I'm going to start getting involved in. I'll try it since I can do it. So it was I put a couple of constraints on myself. I had to have all the materials myself. I couldn't buy anything. All the materials had to be natural. Fang. He was actually talking about Fang. This is Fang. Now I'll get to Fang in a minute. So it was a quilted pillow. There was leather knotwork around the outside edge, and then I appliqued 3 horses around a triskel, which is the Irish kind of, it looks kind of like that kind of thing. And so I got a lot of great feedback on that at at that event. So I'm like, okay, well then, Hartstorndale was having another event a couple weeks back called Nova Scola, and which is something that we always do. And somebody came up with this great idea that let's do a costume plushie contest. So I'm like, oh, I have to do it. I got to do it. So I have my little buddy Fang. I made him a little doublet and a little shirt, and he has that little hat, but it falls off, so he's missing his little hat. So I made him this wonderful little outfit. So, you know, he looks like his mommy, who was a fencer. And they gave, and I won most creative. So,
Yay.
so yeah.
Lucas, why don't you go back and circle back to that fencing fighting question?
Oh, okay. Yeah. I mean, so Taliesin had a question. Said, do you think that the entry barriers are lower to try fencing than heavy?
Maybe because I think the armor and the weapons are a little easier to come by. Because when I was doing the heavy, I found that trying to get armor was to fit me was a lot more difficult. Because you have to wear this you know, heavy steel helmet, and it's got to fit just right with a certain amount of padding so that your head's not knocking around in there. And then you also have to have, you know, a certain amount of armor on your body so that you don't get bruised and broken by these hard sticks. And so I do find that was a little difficult to get. My ex-boyfriend thought it would be really great to make armor for me. He wanted to make female armor. So that's how I ended up with armor. And then, but I didn't have a helmet. I didn't have a helm. So I had to keep borrowing one. But with the fencing, you don't need all that stuff. You need a thick jacket, a fencing helm, which is pretty universal. I mean, yeah, there's like small, medium, and large, but they're pretty easy to make fit. And you don't have to worry about your head getting knocked around. Usually at the fencing practices, there's somebody will loan you a weapon that feels better, so in your hand, until you get comfortable with the sport. So I think, entering right from the base is probably easier to go fencing. But you know, you got to go with what you want to do. You know, there are loaner gear out there for heavy fighters. It's just a matter of finding the right sizing and stuff.
Holly is asking, did you, I mean, at the time, did you find it hard to find female protective gear, like specifically?
Oh, I made my own.
Okay.
So, and so I never worried about the female protection for down below. I was more worried about my girls. And so I created my own bra to wear underneath my armor.
Nice.
Yeah, you gave some people some good advice, Taliesin.
Yeah, thank you.
Chime back in saying thank
Awesome.
you very much. Like, it looks like that might be a good road for her. So
Yeah, and hey, if anybody's out there, you know, send me a message, whatever. I'd be willing to chat. So be on this.
cool.
Always.
So getting kind of back to what you do now. So you entered this ANS, you made the pillow and whatnot. Have you ever really considered doing, since you are a costumer, do you ever like really look at like the art and science of the costuming and making clothes, like, or does that feel too close to your job? you know what I mean? Like sometimes people go into things, their hobbies, and they're like, "Yeah, I do that every day. I want to do this instead." Does that, does that factor into it at all?
Uh, yeah, kind of. Part of the reason why I never bothered doing anything more garb-like in ANS and I, honestly staying away from ANS was because I felt like there was a snobbery about the ANS. And there was, I would try and talk to somebody about an outfit, and I have, as part of being a costume designer, I have to know costume history. I have to know how these things are made. I need to know why, why they wore what they wore and all that. And I would try to have a conversation with somebody about something they wore or whatever. And I got this weird, sometimes we get this weird attitude about it. It's not period. It's not this or whatever. And it's like, so I'm like, and I was kind of worried about the, if I want to make something, but it's not really, you can't just open a book or somewhere and find it in that book. It's not period. Well, if it's a derivative of something, wouldn't you think somebody else has already figured it out somewhere out there? It's just not in the book somewhere because they weren't rich. They wasn't left behind in a bog somewhere. Because like one of my inspirations is Grace O'Malley, Granuaile. She was a contemporary of Elizabeth I, kind of a bit of a thorn on her side. But she was a very powerful woman. She was a sailor. She was a pirate. She went to like Spain and all that and that Mediterranean. So she would have gotten some influence from that area in what she wore. So why couldn't she have something that is Irish with a little flair of Spanish? Why not? Because that's what you do. That's what humans do. They blend things. And so I never got into the ANS back then because of that. I just was like, you know what? I don't need you. But over the years, several of my friends, my contemporaries, have gotten more and more involved in the ANS, and they are laurels now. And I'm having to rethink my position about the ANS. They have been understanding, they have been encouraging. And so I'm actually thinking, so now that's why I'm like, well, maybe I'll give it a try, let's see. And then I get very feisty when people start trying to pick my stuff apart.
And you know what? ANS isn't for everybody. I tell people that. There's,
Yeah.
in the mid realm we have the championships, not the championships. Oh my gosh. Arts and science competition where you
Mm-hmm.
have the rubric and you go against the rubric. But then we have craftsperson fairs where you're invited to just enter stuff that you've worked on, and maybe it's a bean count or something else, but it's really about just leaving favors for people for really cool stuff that they make. So there's no
Yeah.
reason that you have to enter a competition when you can just enter a craftsperson fair and just
Mm-hmm.
show it off and
Well,
just hopefully
yeah.
inspire other people.
Well, that's kind of what the plushie competition was. It was just everybody got a colored, everybody got a set of beads, different colors, and each color denoted a certain category. And so you would put your bead in the plushie's cup for what you felt it was, qualified for. And that's how Fang got most creative.
Yay, Fang. So, Lucas, did you have a certain question? Because I was going to take us on a new tack.
Just, I mean, again, you kind of touched on, I guess, what people affectionately would call the period police, where we've all heard stories and had those experiences maybe and whatnot. Does that ever affect the job you do for like Known World and for Penzic? Because again, the job you tend to do has no period, you know, analog or analogy. You're doing tech work
Hmm.
at a
Well, they
at an
had
event.
tech work. They
Well, I
had
understand that, but I'm
tech.
saying
I
like, but
mean,
again, the majority of what, setting up a lighting rig is not really,
mm-mm.
that kind. Does that has anybody ever kind of like made you feel kind of distant from the society just because it's not okay?
No, no,
I
it's,
just
I
wondered if
think
that's
most of it's probably because uh, with the nature of Penzic, and needing to have performances at night, we have to do the lean to the anachronism part and
Right.
have electric lights. Um, I mean, just the one time that we did it outdoors when Penzic went dark, that was absolutely amazing. I just every yeah,
I
it
was
just
I was in that show. I that was
yeah,
yeah
and we had it was by candlelight and torchlight,
yeah
and it was absolutely amazing. But we can't have live fire in the tents,
yeah.
so but yeah.
Have you ever? I remember when the known role players first started, Mistress Ronwin and I had a talk about doing the Castle of Perseverance one year. This was before they built the fort, though, which is the only like full stage drawing we have. Lucas is of the Castle of Perseverance. There's a ditch, and then so that they nobody could get in for free to see it, and it was theater in the round, and they had a hell mouth and scaffolding, and like it's really really cool. I'll see if I can find it.
Hmm.
Um, so those are the things that I think about, like how can we make our plays more period, which
Hmm.
I guess is another, I guess it's a question before I veer us off on a completely different tack. I wanted to talk about, how can we make period theater more period at Penzic, but also, are you doing theater locally at all? Are you doing anything? And it doesn't sound like you are, but I just wanted to ask.
Not in the SCI, no. All my theater locally here is in mundane world.
Hmm.
So I don't do I haven't really gotten involved around locally for the theater. I mean, I would love to consider doing something more period-esque. I mean, because they had the wagons for the morality place. I mean, that might be interesting to try and set up a wagon and do that. Go around. Um, I think what you had talked about doing that.
We did it. We
You
did
did
do
do
it
it.
one year.
Okay.
We did the
Okay.
Wakefield cycle. We did four plays from the
Okay.
Wakefield cycle, but we only had hand wagons. And
Yeah.
it was an amazingly ambitious project that only succeeded because people loved me. Because it was completely underfunded and we were unprepared. The person who was supposed to help me with it backed out at the last minute. So I was running around trying to drop off food for the performers and build stages with
Hmm.
my friend, and it was too huge of a project. But one of my friends actually told me that he would steal me an Amish buggy. And like, and I was like, because he lived in Amish country, and I was like, George, I don't feel right about you stealing an Amish buggy for me. I
Well,
mean,
they don't low jack those things, so they'll never find it.
they would never find it, right? But no, I mean, I would love to do another one of those, but just actually with a period wagon or two.
We could
That
make it
would
work.
be cool. Yeah, all
We
right,
could
we'll
make
have
it.
to talk. We'll have to
Yeah.
talk. Um, so my question for you is one of the things that we love about having people on our show is it's not just about the SCA. One of the guests that we've been trying to, well, one of the guests we did have him on is sort of like, the SCA is fine and fun, but I like Pensick and I like drinking and I like having my bar. So
You know him too.
Yes,
you
I
you
do.
but you're really active with a LARP.
Yes.
So can you tell us about the LARP? What is it and what do y'all do with this LARP?
So I actually got involved in the LARP through Wormwood, through my husband. And I found out that several of my fencing buddies actually were part of this LARP. And so the rules were described to me as if you can do it in real life, you can do it in the LARP. So it's kind of like if you can fight, you can train and you can become better. And it was a simple, there's no life points or hit points or anything like that. So basically, if you were wearing a padded gambeson, it was worth 4 points. So you basically could get hit 4 times wherever that's covering you, and then you lose whatever it is that your limb, your torso, whatever. Okay, and there was and they had live archery in a way. So basically, they're using like boffer arrows, so we could actually shoot each other. And when I got there, what I liked also was the role playing. The company had been around, I think at that point for somewhere between 15 and 20 years. And so there's a rich history, and I got to know these people. I got to interact with them, and it was almost like interacting with people from the SCA when I'm at Penzic. But there's storylines to follow. So when we weren't dealing with the storylines, we were just hanging around in costume. So it was actually kind of fun. And then I just, became really good friends with everyone. And just the stories have been wonderful. And I think that's one of the biggest reasons why I enjoyed it. It was really simple, and I didn't have to think.
Nice. So what's the name of it? Do you mind telling us more about the group that you play with?
It's called Zanadria Productions Incorporated. So it's a medieval fantasy, and it was developed by a guy named Doug Bischoff. It's his brainchild. Next year would be our 30th year running. So we only have 6 events a year, starting in March, and we go through October. And it's based in Pennsylvania, up in Hamburg, which is right off of 78. It's about 2 hours due west of New York.
So I've never done a LARP, so I'm really fascinated by this because the only experience I have with them is that movie. What was that movie? What was
Which
that
one?
movie where the demon really comes to life and the guy reads the book?
Knights of Badassery.
Oh my God, that movie
I
is
haven't seen that one.
the best. It is so awesome. But anyway, so that's like my experience with LARPing. So
Yeah.
so who writes the storylines and who helps make the story come to life, or is that all of you?
So we have a group of writers that write just little storylines or big story plots or arcs for the season, and then we have a game master, GM, usually 2 or 3, and they set up the game and figure out what storylines are going to run and when, and then we have cast people who in other LARPs would be called NPCs or non-player characters. So they're the ones that are basically reading the storylines, taking that information and going into game and sending that information out to the adventurers or the PCs, player characters. So it's kind of like a murder mystery dinner, where you're involved, you're kind of trying to figure out what this information is coming in at you with, and then so we have we have our own costumes, me, and like I costume all the cast characters. A person who wants to cast only has to bring a toiletry kit and a set of cast blacks, which is a black shirt, a black pants, and comfy shoes, because you're going to be running all over the woods. And other than that, there's some bins over there, have it. And then we have a makeup department. So we send in some people, depending on the critter or the character, goes in with makeup. We have baddies, we have goodies, and then we have, so we send in the storylines. There was one storyline that I was the recipient of, and I actually was so upset the fact that I actually was the center of the storyline as the adventurer. I had to save the world, and I was so upset, and I was waiting for a clue, and I'm standing on the back porch of this inn, and I'm so upset. I'm like, I don't know what to do. Everybody's asking me if they can go do this or they do that, but they promised that they would be there for me when it was time to go. And I'm going, oh my God, I'm going to die. This isn't going to work. Somebody walks in, one of the cast people walks in with a little Tibetan singing bowl with pistachios in it. And he walks up to me and he's like, pistachio? And I looked at him, grabbed the pistachio and threw it at him, and went back to my little, oh my God, right? He walked back to the cast area and told the GMs, she threw a pistachio at me. And the GM's like, what? Yeah, she didn't get the clue. The clue was the bowl. It was the Tibetan singing bowl. And I was like, oh. So they came out, they sent somebody back out with the bowl and said, I think this is important. Okay, it's time, guys.
So how long do they last? Are they all weekend or just a day?
It's a weekend. So most people show up Friday night, and we have like a little mini game. And then the actual game starts Saturday around noon and goes to Sunday around noon. And depending on the cast, if they're too tired or whatever, they'll do some night ops. Somebody will run in as a crunchy, some random monster and harass the people in the inn, just for the people that are still awake. Or the adventurers just hang out in the inn and entertain themselves. They'll play a card game. They'll just sit and hang out and talk. So,
That
it's
sounds so fun.
It is. It really is a lot of fun. So, and it's like the group that we're with. It's like another family. Like all of the players, the cast, and the adventurers, and then the crew. We have people that work the kitchen, and that's all they do.
Wow.
So they're, we're all just a big old family. So, which is great. It's kind of like a third family. So I have my regular family, my real family, my Penzic family, and now my Zenadre family. So
Speaking of your family, question from the ether: who is your favorite sister?
The twins.
Yeah, definitely. Somebody asked me to ask you that question, and they also intimated that after the pistachio story, they know what they're getting you for Christmas every year.
Great.
So
Thanks. Wonderful. Does it start with a K or a T?
a K.
Okay.
Yeah, figures.
Nice. Their comments blew up while I was listening to you talk about the LARP. So we have about 10 minutes left.
Oh gosh.
Lucas, do you have any questions left?
No, I
Go
again,
to our big one.
I was gonna say I love throughout the show just hearing all these things that I would refer to as SCA adjacent, because I know that one of the many pads I had to the SCA was actually your husband, who I met doing Renaissance festivals,
Mhm.
and lots of those people were also involved in the SCA. So I love the LARP stories, because again, I feel it's like one of those things where a lot of times, like when I first started doing Renaissance festivals, the true, I don't know how to say this that doesn't sound insulting, but people who were only in the SCA, who were kind of friends, kind of looked down on it, did the whole it's not real fighting thing and whatnot early on, and I was kind of like, what's real fighting?
Mhm.
And as a stunt performer, I was kind of like, man. yeah, I think the line's blurred. We love to do different things. So thank you for sharing.
Yeah, I'm finding that the lines seem to be blurring a lot more, like, and there's a lot more understanding. When I started out in the SCA, you had the heavy fighters over here and you had the fencers over there, and never should the two meet, right? And now everyone's crossing back and forth. You got heavy fighters going to doing fencing, you got fencers doing heavy fighting, and and even just going to the throwing weapons or archery. So everybody's kind of starting to like mingle now, which I'm finding is awesome. It's nice to see that everyone's not, being like, you're a fighter, okay, whatever, or and just being like snobs. Everyone is becoming more open and welcome of all the different things. There are heavy fighters doing ANS, so hey, come on board. Find something.
All right, final question. What can the SCA do better?
I was trying to think about a good answer for that, and it's a difficult question. I know there are some places that they're trying to be more welcoming with newcomers, trying to make it easier for the newcomers to come in and get involved. And I think that's probably one of the things that the SCA really needs to work, should focus on. It's just helping those, the new ones, find a niche, have more newcomer activities at events so that the people that show up to an event like Mud Thaw, there's something for them, or, there's a newcomers table. So come to the newcomers here. This is like, and maybe have like a sponsor, to bring them around at an event so that they're not just standing off in a corner going, okay, oh, that looks interesting. Maybe, I don't know, I'm bored, So I think maybe doing, hosting sponsors or something for a newcomers table at it, so, newcomers can meet new established SCA people. So I don't know.
I love that idea. It's a great idea.
Yeah, that is. I think if we got more people understanding that, I always tell people that my biggest smile at events is for the new people. And you can tell the new people, the crushed velvet panne dress, right? And I always try to give them the biggest smile I have and let them know, I see you. It's a beautiful crushed panne velvet there.
I'm wearing crushed velvet. Thank you.
No, that's not panne though. Panne is the, okay. But
it's the shiny stuff.
Yeah, it's
squishy stuff.
Yeah, it's like a linen-y, cottony. It's weird. And I
No,
had many
polyester.
Dresses made out of it when I started. Is it polyester?
Polyester.
I had so many dresses made of that when I started.
Yeah.
But anyway, I think if we all went out of our way to be more welcoming to the newer people, the SCA would be a better place. I think you're right.
And it's difficult. I mean, I was at Nova Scola, and it's an event geared towards newcomers. And I was there by myself, didn't really know anybody. I mean, I knew some of the people from the event staff, but I'm still trying to get back in with them. I'm still trying to figure out where I am in the Shire, where's my place. And I ended up meeting a couple of newcomers, and one of them actually is pretty local to me. And so it's just, so we're talking back and forth, and I'm hoping to keep her interested in the ESCA. But for me personally, it's very awkward for me to talk to new people. I'm sitting in a corner, kind of minding my own business. I'm until I get to know you. You know, and so people that know me, like you guys, here I am being all like out and open and active. And normally when I first meet people, I'm just kind of like, yeah, okay, I'm just gonna sit over here and just kind of look around, you know.
Yeah.
So I mean, I know it's difficult on both sides,
Right. It's
but
hard because so many of us in the SCA are society norm dorks. Like we just don't enjoy that. I am actually a very shy person. It's really hard for people to believe that, but I have the persona of Zoph, but in
hmm
reality, I don't go out and initiate conversations with people. So that's why, like I said, I give them a big smile. But it's
yeah,
very rare that I go over and say hi, and it's not because I'm mean, it's because I'm shy and I don't know what to say and I don't know how to,
yeah.
'cause I can be a bit much, and I acknowledge that as well. I know
I
that's a
was
shocker. I'm really so laid back.
I'm the same way. I need a reason to talk to you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like if I do a show with people, well, I'm forced to interact. But if I go to a party with people, I don't talk to anybody.
Awkward.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Awkward.
That's one of the best things about Penzic for me is that during the day I've done the shows and I meet people, and then at night, Phineas, who was a previous guest, I tend bar, and everyone knows that forces me to have an interaction with people as they
Mhm.
come up. Even just the simple "Hey, what can I get you?" kind of thing, forces me to interact, and so and then I relax.
Well,
But yeah,
maybe we should have a Chatelaine on as one of our next guests. We have our next two guests already lined up, but the one after that, we should have a Chatelaine to talk us through how to really welcome newcomers to the SCA in a way that doesn't bring out our societal anxiety issues.
hmm
All
Well,
right,
yeah.
I'll
goal,
reach out and see if I can find one.
go. Yeah, thank you. All right, Lucas, you want to take us out?
Well, are we going to plug next week's guest?
Our next guest is the most awesomest person ever. It's
I can't be guests.
You
I'm
can't
a
be.
host.
Oh my gosh, but I do have to share that we had talked a while ago about having Dobroshka on our show, who's a potter. We can't have her on the show anymore. She just got laureled at Gulfport.
Ah,
Dang
well,
it!
congratulations. Good.
Curses! Curses! Um, but congratulations to her. I mean,
Yeah,
it's
That's awesome.
wonderful for her getting her laurel. So our next guest is I just know him as Pippin. And Pippin is a musician from Atlantia who is, I think they are about the same age as my child, 23-ish. Today, happy birthday, Rowan. Um, and he's just an incredibly does commedia, does music, and is just brilliant. And he has agreed to be our guest in 2 weeks.
wonderful.
Okay.
Cool.
Well, thank you so much for being on the show. I mean, that was great. So thank you so
Thank you
much.
for hosting me.
No problem. So again, if you can think of somebody who you'd like to see on the show, somebody we could talk to, somebody who hasn't gotten rewarded with their laurel, or doesn't have one pending, hit us up on the Facebook site. You've been watching Simply SCAdian, no title required.